Well, new developments regarding the National Guard. Yesterday, we told you how a judge temporarily blocked the Trump administration from sending troops to Chicago to assist in the president's immigration crackdown.
However, we also learned that the president is deploying approximately 350 troops to New Orleans. Over the past several months, the president has sent the National Guard to several cities across the country, including Washington, D.C., where their presence has made a noticeable impact in tamping down on crime.
But last month, two members of the National Guard, they were shot near the White House, killing one and seriously injuring the second. And now the suspect accused of that shooting has been hit with new charges, opening the door to the death penalty. Ramanullah Lakanwal now faces charges relating to transporting a firearm in interstate commerce with intent to commit an offense, federally with transporting a stolen firearm in interstate commerce, first-degree murder, assault with intent to kill, and illegal possession of a firearm. So let's get reaction now from former DHS senior advisor and Newsmax contributor Charles Marino and former Maryland congressional candidate and Red Renaissance PAC president Kim Klacik and former senior advisor to DHS Undersecretary Alejandro Mayorkas, Bernie Flowers. All of you, thanks for being with us on this Christmas. Charles, first to you. I want to go back to some of these rulings that we have gotten on these National Guard deployments, the federalization of the National Guard. On balance, who's winning this fight? Are these federal judges and Democratic-led states and cities, or is it the Trump administration?
Well, the Trump administration's been doing very well prior to this initial decision, which I think is completely wrong by the Supreme Court. Even Justice Kavanaugh alluded to the fact that situations may shift and change that allows the president to deploy the National Guard to certain locations. My approach has always been if he's got the authority to federalize, then he's got the right to deploy, especially in the context in which sanctuary cities are serving as obstructionists. If you look at the metrics, though, President Trump is doing very well in reducing crime. I think the best gift for the American people this Christmas, in addition to the economy improving, is a 20% reduction in overall crime. You can't dispute these figures. And the reason why it's working is the common sense approach that the administration is putting forth by enforcing the laws of this country, ensuring there's accountability, and instilling deterrence. And so part of the death penalty case here against this terrorist in D.C. that not only attacked National Guard troops, but also it was an attack symbolically on our country against the men and women in uniform, is to provide that deterrence and accountability. The taxpayers shouldn't have to foot the bill for this guy to live on their dime for a year. This should be a quick decision and put him to death.
Bernie, I got to get your thoughts on this one, because, again, we're seeing these very liberal lawmakers doing what seems to be not common sense, to use Chuck's phrase there, and just wanting none of the help from the federal government when they clearly need it. Why do you think they're doing that?
I don't understand it. And first of all, thank you and Merry Christmas to both of you and Andrew. Bottom line is that a while back ago, a lot of liberal judges were put in place. I don't understand why they got so much support, but they're going to have to be weeded out because these people are not trying to help us. That young man that, murdered allegedly that one National Guard person and then the other one, he should be treated as a murderer. That's what he is. I don't understand why the judiciary is so liberal, but we've got to come together and make sure that justice is served. So I'm all for President Trump, prosecuting this person as a murderer.
Yeah, Kim, bringing you into the conversation now, too. This policy has seen fits and starts in the judicial system and federal district courts across the country, where the Trump administration is targeting some of this crime, illegal crime, in blue cities and states here. Does the administration need to change their approach going into the new year? I mean, the results speak for themselves, but if they keep getting held up in court, do they need to find a new route here? What say you?
Well, as you most know, I am in Baltimore, so I know firsthand how dangerous these inner cities are. And I know that the mayor here, plus our governor, Governor Moore, has been putting up a front against President Trump and his administration, just as these rogue judges, they don't want them on the ground. But as if you listen to the people in Memphis and other cities where it is very dangerous, the people on the ground want more security. They want more public safety. And as taxpayers, we deserve it. It's unfortunate that they have to go back and forth to court over this issue, but I don't think that they should change their strategy. I think they should keep forging ahead because, like I said, these are things that people are going to remember even come election cycle here in the midterms. They're going to remember that President Trump wanted them to feel safe in their neighborhoods. He wanted them to have a better quality of life. And I think that's why you're seeing so many people migrate towards voting towards the Republican Party. And that's why we saw it in the last election as well. I mean, when's the last time you saw a Republican candidate or nominee win the popular vote here in this country? He talked about illegal immigration. He talked about public safety and, of course, the economy. And that's all you truly need to focus on.
Yeah, Chuck, we know that, of course, even though the Supreme Court did not rule in the president's or the administration's favor here, it is temporary potentially. It seemed like, OK, you just have to sort of make a clearer case in those specific areas based on some nuances and specifics. So this isn't over.
No, it's not over. And I think the court made a mistake in another way, too. They also slipped up and said that the president needs to use the regular forces to the fullest extent possible before pulling in the National Guard. Well, as you all know, our full-time military are considered regular forces, and we know what they're doing, the jobs they're responsible for in these sanctuary cities. It's to provide protection to those law enforcement agents carrying out arrests and removing people from this country here illegally and protecting federal buildings. You know, as much as the left makes a stink about the National Guard and the military being involved in these efforts, they have yet to show one photograph of a member of the National Guard putting handcuffs on somebody. They're just not doing that. That's not their responsibility.
Yeah, right.
So I think the president can deploy the Marines or the Army in the meantime. But I think in the current, you're going to see him continue to deploy the National Guard and push the envelope on the Supreme Court's decision.
Chuck, you're right. And obviously in Washington, D.C., we have seen in the numbers and the statistics, in the reality, that it does work just as a deterrent, to your point. Yeah. All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Merry Christmas, Chuck, Kim, Lieutenant Flowers. Thanks so much.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.